It should be, if I get this out of the right door.
He's going on his own little world over there. It's disappeared off.
You're trying to come up.
Bricks. That's a mistake. We can't use it. It's right there.
Ain't much different when he's there.
That's why come help me lift this item off the road. $1,000 code. I didn't do
So help me, don't be like,
Robbie, we're gonna go ahead and initial you, get your president for the meeting. You have called Ellis's phone, but I don't see him on the Yes, I got you, Rob.
Make sure you can hear it.
Okay, everybody's in the corner of the too.
Yeah.
We had to wait and send it to council. Council had to pass it.
Call our meeting to order. Before we do our invocations, Aaron wants to have a message for us.
There's a couple things going on tonight. Number one, we're being streamed live again over the YouTube section that the county's using. The camera's in the back of the room there. So remember, whatever you say is streamed out. There is no editing to that. It is live with no delay. We also tonight have one commissioner who is here by Zoom because of things that go on with works in the sheriff's office, and there's things going on there. So Robbie Clanton is on here by Zoom, and he's on video so that we can watch him and make sure he doesn't go take a nap while the meeting's going on. That's a joke, right? And Claude Ellis is supposed to be on, but I do not see him here yet, but he was also sent the invitation. The way we're working it tonight, you notice that the staff's not in here. They're in on their Zoom in their offices so that they can hear the meeting, and the different parts where some of them might need to present, then they'll know when to come in. Brian will be the first one that'll come down to present here in just a few minutes once you get started. If in the future, for some reason, we're not able to hold the meeting in person here, we'll be trying to do those meetings by Zoom so that we don't have to shut down the Fire Commission's operation. We want to meet in person as much as we can. Tonight, we set the tables up differently than we had them at the last meeting. We realized we had about three pretty tight pinch points in here the way they were set up. This seems to work better tonight with the food outside. We didn't, excuse me, we didn't end up with a lot of congestion and people on top of one another. So there is a lot of cases of COVID in the county. There's a lot of community spread, particularly in the 29720 zip code, and the others also have cases. There's not a zip code in the county that doesn't have a good number of cases. Lancaster, of course, has the highest number by far. But wanted to just give you a heads up on how things are working tonight and how they may work in the future. If we end up having to go to the Zoom type meeting, probably would bring the executive committee in and have them here so that they can handle the Zoom part, and staff would be here to present as we need it to be. And then the participation would be by the members over the Zoom. The chairman at that point in time would have a little bit tougher job because he'd have to recognize people so that they're not talking over one another in the Zoom category. So, Mr. Chairman, that.
Okay. I've asked CJ to do our invocation tonight.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, just want to thank you for this day, dear Lord. Just thank you for what you do for each and every one of us, dear Lord. Dear Lord, just ask, thanks for keeping us all safe, dear Lord. Just ask that we will conduct this business meeting, dear Lord, in the way you have it done and what's best for our community, dear Lord. Dear Lord, we ask now that you bless this food, take the food of our body and body your service. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, next we have the approval of the agenda. Motion.
Make motion.
Greg, Daniel, second. All in favor of the approval of the agenda as written? Any opposed? No. Our visitors' comments. Approval of the June 4th minutes. Got Daniel.
Second.
Justin. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, now we're moving to the election of the Fire Commission officers. We're looking at the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. First one up is the chairman position. I have nominations for chairman.
Justin McClellan.
Want to nominate, Jason?
Wait a minute, I got Greg and then Daniel back there.
Justin, and Robbie seconded something. Did you second Justin's nomination? Okay.
I got another nomination for Jason Lane from CJ. Do I have a second? Chris, man.
Chris, you can't vote tonight.
Sir. All right. So any other nominations? Okay, I move this nomination be closed, and we'll have to do a ballot vote, right?
No, they leave.
They leave,
Oh, okay,
they
okay,
leave
okay.
and you do a vote.
Y'all step out. Okay, all those wishing, to vote for Justin? 6, 7. Okay.
You counted, Robbie.
No, I did not. 8, sorry. 8. And then for, Jason? 2. 2. All right,
You go get it.
okay. Y'all come in.
We got
10 to 12, we actually got 11, probably, but 10 to 12. Somebody didn't sign in there.
Congratulations, you're the new
one.
chair. And I'm going.
And Rick said he's gonna
That's
hand you a
right.
gavel
That's
next
right.
week.
Right.
You gonna play your song as you go in?
No, I won't do that. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good meeting. Bye. See you there, boy.
You can still stay.
No.
He'll listen, I just have to
Call Evans. He's on conference call with work, so he's not gonna be able to attend what he's gonna do.
Thank you, Rob. All right, now we'll, open the floor for nominations for the, vice chairman.
call you back.
Motion is second for Jason Laney. Any others? Got a motion for Greg Nicholson. Have a second for Greg.
Did somebody second?
Jason seconded. All right, so we have a motion for Jason and for Greg. Any others? Close nominations and get you on, go outside. We'll vote again. All right, Jason, who's first?
Robbie, are you voting?
Okay.
Bobby voted. Second.
Greg?
One, two.
And then. It says like 10.
You got two out of here. Okay,
There's 20 people.
okay.
I can't, I'm not voting.
Yeah, I know, I didn't count you. But you got 2 out. And Justin's not voting, okay, that would be right. I'm sorry,
All right.
this kid's,
You only have to vote for tie.
yes.
Jason, Greg, y'all can come back. You can move over to. All right, since our secretary is now moving over, we need to open up the floor for nominations for the secretary. Vote for, or nomination for secretary, Robbie, you couldn't hear me. Have a nomination for secretary.
And the secretary does not have to do minutes, y'all do understand that Donna does those parts.
I don't have to do anything, it said, maybe with it.
All right, we got a motion for, Josh.
Second.
I think Brad did it first.
We got a first and a second for Josh. Any other? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to nominations and all in favor of Josh.
Now you get to come to the front table.
Alright, move into our information items, the grant update.
Mr. Chairman, you have to put on grants tonight. If you have things that are close by.
Grant report, sir. Anything special introduction?
Alright, everybody just take a look in their package, just follow along as I go through the, train officer report. July, December is in your calendar, just please make sure you look through that, for classes coming up. The hazmat ops is a go, we got 12 people signed up for that class, it is a go. We got people coming from all the way from Newberry coming, so, good group of people coming. Aero ops is coming up as well, so just make sure you're signed up for class so we can get as much of those as we can go. I did have a request for a firefighter one. If, I told them I gotta get everybody through hazmat ops, of course. So once we get everybody through hazmat ops, then we will do, a first aid CPR. Then looking about the October timeframe for a, firefighter one. Alright, so October timeframe, about the middle of October. We're hosting a request I-300, August the 10th and the 11th. The sheriff's office requested that, and right now we got 20 people in there right now from sheriff's office, city PD, and EMS, and looking to have more, of course, from fire. So if you got personnel that need or would like to take I-300, it'll be hosted here. Got plenty of room. So that's Monday and Tuesday. Please sign up via a SCFA registration form. I know I normally say portal, but this time it's not going to be on the portal just because it is a request class. He might put it on there later, but right now we got 20 people. Instructor orientation IOWs. I've had a lot of people wanting to start helping instruct and all that, and I think that's awesome. It's great. However, the only thing you got there is a series. So first thing you got to do is take instructor orientation. It's about 3 hours long. And then JD will come in and we'll go through the instructor orientation. Now, that being said, the fire academy whatsoever is not coming out into the regions and doing stuff like this. It's going to be all on Zoom, all right? So we're going to pick a date coming up pretty soon. Talk to the train officers next week. A lot of them were the ones that requested this. So we're going to do a Zoom instructor orientation. I will send it out via a countywide email in case somebody else would like to know it. And then after that, JD will let me do do IOWs according to what everybody wants to take. You want to do LEN 52, low angle road, EVDT, whatever you want to teach. I'll be doing the IOWs right here at the UFC. High school, we got 8 seniors coming back and 12 juniors coming in. And we got all 4 high schools represented, so that's really good. Also, if you'll take a look in your packet as well, it's the new junior firefighter policy. Not much has changed in that policy, honestly. But if everybody just take a look at the last page, a lot of the only thing that did change is the classes that they can take. This is pretty much the straight off the bat classes that you can take with that. But if you look down at the very bottom for me, you notice where it says note. All right, it's got to be approved classes. They want to take another class. It's got to be approved by the superintendent of the fire academy. So let's just say I teach a class at the high school right now called Support Company Ops, 1161 Support Company Ops. All right, now they took that out, so now I got to get approval by the superintendent for them to have that class at the school. All right, so further down the road, just know if you have a junior in your department and they sign up for a class, let's say out of that listing, I got to get approval from the superintendent for that. Yes, it's very aggravating. All right, I don't know why they took classes out. Another class that they took out was 2146 NIMS for the Fire Service Incident Command. I'm not sure why they took that out, but, they did. So now I gotta get approval from the superintendent per case-by-case basis. It's gonna be an aggravating process, but hey, we'll do what we gotta do. August 29th, rope rescue, that's gonna be training we're gonna have. So sign up via county registration form, for that. We're probably gonna be up in Indian Land, fire department going through low angle rope and then transition into high angle, dealing with, the Arizona vortex and stuff like that. September 1st, we're going to be hosting a lost and missing person behavior class here at the EOC. Retired battalion chief of City of Charlotte, Tim Rogers, are going to be coming in, and we're going to be going through this book, and he's going to be showing you how to use this book, Lost Person Behavior. It's going to be a great class, one-day class. He's going to be showing you forms we're going to use, interview forms in case you got you get on scene first, what you need to be asking the family members, stuff like that. And basically you can look at what type of condition they have, dementia, Alzheimer's, anything of that nature, how long they've been missing, and then pretty much you'll grid it out, and they will probably be within that grid. So he'll go through that whole process of that. IST, officer level training, just make sure your members are doing that. Retest policy, I just keep this on here. If you need a retest, call JD, and he'll set that up. And then lastly, Mr. Chairman, the mid-year report, just like Donna sent out to all the chiefs, the mid-year report is due. So the training officers has a mid-year report, and that mid-year report is just the summary sheet, all right? So all I need for the mid-year report is just a summary sheet of how many training hours you've done thus far. And lastly, Camp Creek Fire Department has still not turned in their 2019 summary from the entire 2019 year. That was due in January. So according to SOGs, they're going to lose their matching funds for that. So just wanted to, that's by SOG. So there's no action need to be done as per SOG. So any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Any questions?
Yeah.
The rope rescue class you're talking about, is that adding on to the other classes we took, or is that kind of like a
It's basically, I'm just trying to get, if you ain't done rope rescue in a long time, just get it hands on and do some rope training together. So I know you took the class with Keith. It's people that took that want to do more training as well, but also people that have not taken training. Also in September, we got that low ankle class here.
I got a question about it.
Yeah.
On the auto education, it's always been a prerequisite you had firefighter, base firefighter. On here, it's not listed now.
That is, now the fire academy says you just need a knowledge of how to put on gear.
Okay, so it's no
There's
prerequisite.
no prerequisite for that. All you need is a knowledge to put on gear.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And
Thank you.
that's it. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Rick will be available after the meeting for just a minute if somebody has a question. Well, Robbie, are you able to hear everything okay that's being said in here? Okay.
Maintenance report.
Billy said that basically everything is self-explanatory on the maintenance reports. If you have a question, he may be back here by the time we end the meeting. But if not, if you'll give those to me, I'll make sure he gets them and he can get you an answer on any of your questions.
Budget detail, council.
Mr. Chairman, you've got the DAI in your packet. Remember, this is the end of the budget year, and it is that snapshot in time of the day that it was printed. They're continuing to pay things, and they will continue to pay things through the month of July. We rarely ever get that final accounting, but you can see from the percentages in the percentiles of the left, or the left column, which is on the far right side of the spreadsheet, for both the 141, which is the fire commission budget. Those of you who may be new in here not know that. If you're looking at those account numbers where it says Department 141, that's fire commission. Department 144 is the career firefighters, because the two link together through training, and the career firefighters participate in some of the equipment money as well, treated like a station. You get a copy of both the budgets so that you can see what's going on in both directions as far as training is concerned. primarily, along with some of the other things that are happening. So if you'll notice, on the 141 budget, in the equipment capitalized, you'll see that we went over that account by 6,525%. That's because you all got new SCBA. That was a non-budgeted item. Council did that for us in January, and those were paid for. So that's why that line item is so far out of kilter. Any questions? I'll try to get them answered or give an answer for those.
Any questions? Just a reminder, the information request,
What's the date?
August 14th.
August.
I think August 14th, remind your information request is due back your mid-year request, so make sure that y'all get those in by 5 p.m. that day.
After the next meeting too, so we can accept them before we move forward.
Right. Moving into action items, recruitment and retention.
The committee appointments need to
Yeah,
be
that's
made by the two from here, and then this commission needs to formally appoint the entire board, and once those two have been put in.
You see in your packet, we need 2 representatives from fire commission to serve on this committee. Do you have anybody who would like to serve on the recruitment and retention committee? And you can see also who's already serving from the other associations in the county. You would, okay. Chris Madden.
So everybody can understand the relationship Chris has. He was a commissioner for Flat Creek, who then became a career employee, had to come off the commission as a voting member because of the ordinance. He did continue to serve as an alternate for Flat Creek. The ordinance was changed to allow career members to participate at the last meeting in June by council. He will not be appointed by council again until Monday night. He's on their agenda to be appointed then. So that will give him his appointment. So you all are establishing committees. You're within your right if you want to vote for him, because after Monday night, barring something unforeseen, he will be an appointed member of the fire commission at that point in time. So he says he's interested. If you want to do that, I think you're within the parameters of what you can do if you want to do that and use him on that committee. That's neither an endorsement or not, but I just want you to understand how it's working today. Robbie had something to interject.
Motion for Chris.
Yes, I'm making a motion for Chris.
Got a second from Brooks. All in favor of Chris representing us on recruitment retention? All right. Any opposed? Need one more? Sergio? Sergio's stepping up and willing.
For a second. Or whatever.
Jason, motion for
This is a
Sergio.
motion.
Brooks, Greg, bunch of them. All in favor of Sergio? Any opposed? Alright, so Sergio and Chris will represent us, and you can see who the others are. Did we need to,
Yeah, I need a motion to accept the
Okay,
y'all appointed.
and then is it going into effect now? What was it we were doing with the Chiefs at the last meeting? Was it just over that short few months to make
It
sure
was just,
we
it
were
was
good?
that, but now it's not.
Now, because we're good, that's why I was
so
gonna make sure. Alright,
I thought y'all voted on yours.
we did, that's what we just wanted to make sure we were good. So we need a motion to approve the whole entire list here. Motion from Jason, second from Josh, all in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Ryan will be leaving, so if anybody's got a question for him, catch him now.
Brian, I'd give Brett my packet that you give.
There's one laying here.
That's probably it.
That's it. I'll go ahead and grab it.
Slap him on. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll take care of it.
Alright. Discussion concerning SOGs on call types.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think it was Pleasant Valley, Member John Smith that asked that this be put on. No, the Chiefs asked for this to be put on, that's right. So if you want as chair, as President of the Chiefs talk about that.
Got those notes in mind.
Well, primarily,
With them.
we're experiencing, and let me preface what I'm about to say. with making everybody aware, in case you do not know, Stephen Blackwelder has resigned as Public Safety Communications Director. He's moving into a position as an engineer with the Stormwater Group, so he'll still be employed in Lancaster County. That job was posted with the county yesterday. I'm assuming they're advertising it out. So it's been done. We were in some discussions with him about different things that are going on with call types, primarily extra calls for structure fires when the house is not on fire, but there's a fire close to the house. And Tony has been working on some of the SFGs and pulling some things out and looking at some of the call types that we had. Tony, do you have that prepared to go over it as a discussion item right now?
Okay.
Okay.
So far, I heard through the commission meeting, I think it's last month, people were concerned about, power line down, tree arcing on a power line, calls like that being dispatched as structure fire because the tree or whatever, power line may have been deemed close to a house. So I've added in a line item under our dispatch policy about dispatching one station to power lines down or tree arcing on a power line. And the second one occurred last week, I think. It caught my attention. Dispatching 3 stations to smoke in the area / odor / chemical smells. And of course, it turns out 9 times out of 10 turns out to be somebody burned trash. So added that in there also, and put to dispatch 1 station also for these types of calls. And I changed, and you'll get these down the road if unless something else comes up we need to change. I changed vehicle fires to vehicle fire in a carport garage or within 10 feet of a structure to be upgraded to a structure fire response. Anything else would just be 1 station. That's the only changes I made to this one so far. Did I send this to the committee?
There was also discussion in here among some of the staff about a pot on the stove being on fire, the house wasn't on fire around it. I can go either way on the pot on the stove. If you don't get it out pretty quick, the house will be on fire. So if it's inside the house, I don't really have a problem calling that a structure fire. But if it's a power line with a limb arcing on it, there's nothing we can do about that to begin with. And to call that a structure fire with a 3 station or a 4 station, the city ended up with a commercial facility, I think it was a school, wasn't it? Where we sent four stations there, and it was, 1,000 people in the building? So, that's the issue that we're trying to address here.
The one, the smoke, smell, chemical, whatever, is that outside of the building or inside of the building? Or both?
They normally come in as outside, but and that's
I guess my thing, if we get a call to a commercial building with a smell of gas or chemicals, is that gonna be a 1 company or 1 station or a multi-station or? That's where it's gonna come down to.
It's gonna be what the caller tells
Exactly.
dispatch, and
That's
the unknown.
Is yours based off of a smell outside or just they call and say, I smell something? Okay.
But
You may want to base it on in or out, but.
Yeah, I mean,
But to back up, we never had that in our policy at all, so
right.
this was created and put in CAD as another call type that we never knew anything about. And so they just decided, yeah, we'll do 3 stations for that.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we're just playing catch up on that.
if it's,
You need something, so no, you got
and there again, like you said, it can be, who knows, I mean, it can be anything.
Well, therein lies why we have not made all these changes over the years, but it just seems to have gotten to where there's primarily the power line calls, I think, are the ones that have gotten really ramped up over the past year. And part of the problem there is we have so many trees falling. We didn't used to have so many trees falling. And this was not something we expected an answer on tonight, but it's still.
Are there any other that y'all are hearing or your station is discussed in detail besides the one that Tony's talked about or that we mentioned?
Is there one on outside fire?
I know they talked about it, I don't remember if it was last commissioner or the chief's meeting, they talked about when it's pouring down rain, sending 2 stations to a brush fire. I know they talked about that.
Which again tends to be a power line parked
Yeah.
on the ground.
Or we know it's not gonna be burning. I mean, if it's pouring, but there again, I guess that's hard because it was raining down here earlier and it
Y'all
was
didn't get a problem.
sunshine and,
Yeah.
and nice up there, so it could be well, in our district, it could be
The one thing I would remind you is that the TCOs are sitting in a dark room with no windows, and the only attachment to the outside world they have is the telephone on which somebody has called them, and the information they get is no better than what those people give them. Sometimes people know what they're talking about. Sometimes a host of them will suppose and embellish. There's any number of things that go on that the TCOs have to weed through as they're trying to decide, do I send 2 departments, 1 department, 3 departments? And bear in mind, they're probably gonna err on the side of caution, and if, in their mind, there could be a possibility that they need 3, they're gonna send 3, hoping that we'll get them turned around. The problem we have is that we've got so much equipment out of 3 stations headed, we basically dump a station. We don't dump by vehicle or apparatus, we dump the station. So we've got 3 full stations or 4 full stations. So we got millions, literally millions of dollars worth of equipment going down the road, code 3, chances are in a storm, thinking there's a structure on fire, until somebody gets on scene and says that's not the case. So, you know, it's almost a catch-22 situation for them. And if we begin to summarily back down, then we'll get caught in a situation where something will be on fire.
So was that, did you send that to the SOG committee?
No, not yet.
Basically, have a discussion about if y'all wanted to.
Yeah,
then
here's what we talked about.
And then send it out again, and it needs to go to the chiefs, and, I mean, there's a lot of ways this one needs to go.
We wanna send what he's worked on so to the commission, or committee, so they can start working.
Not yet. I mean, there's members who are on it already, that said, well, you know, you have to appoint $4.
So, do we,
motion
for that?
Either that or consensus that you'd like to go into the committee, because you're not taking action on it tonight.
Yeah.
feel like, everybody feels like we just go ahead and send that on to the SOG committee, they can start reviewing it, working on it as well. In the meantime, y'all discuss with your stations if there's any other things, cause like Darren mentioned, with the new director coming in, it's gonna be a good time to, you know, make sure that we got everything the way we want it, cause whoever he or she is, you know, we can work with them to try to get some things changed or adjusted.
Is there something, did you have something else? Cause I know what we sent down was not talking about that.
Yours is the fire alarms and policy. That's number 4.
Oh, sorry.
That's why I said, John.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to make sure, I thought ours was on there, but
Alright, so Tony will get that sent to the SOG committee. Again, y'all make sure you discuss it with your stations, any issues that you may be having, so we can discuss them again in August. Number 4, we got our discussion concerning fire alarms and, excuse me, 3, matter of check.
Really important.
Yeah, discussion concerning fire commission's ordinance and SOG 206.01.
Mr. Chairman, the reason we've got this in here, the ordinance, of course, is adopted by county council. As part of the ordinance, there's an SOG that you all approved that has to do with the way some things operate. It gives how the commissioners are appointed basically by the rotation, and Tony did update that for the one that's in your package. This one I would ask that you adopt tonight. There is really nothing in here that has changed other than the number of the ordinance and the fact that you need an adopted date that is past the ordinance adoption date. So your new adopted date would be after tonight, assuming that you adopt it, so this would be a possibility.
Okay. All right, so y'all can see in your packet, you heard what Darren just said. You have a motion to, approve this SOG as it's
And
written.
you have a copy of the ordinance showing what was struck and what was
Right before that.
There's very minor changes to it, just some dates and stuff.
Make a motion, second, then.
Second.
Got a motion, second, CJ. So we're,
Just a question, and I mean, I don't know if this is gonna run into an issue or not. I know that I'm thinking that the paid members that work for here, when they come to these meetings and stuff, do they have to get paid?
No, that's specified in
I
the
read
ordinance.
that in there and I didn't know if that was gonna cross the line or.
Nobody, part-time, full-time, anybody, whether they work at the shop, fire service, or whatever, can be paid to come to this meeting.
Alright, well, I knew that I guess they do on calls and I didn't want that done.
Yeah, they do. This is not part of their duties as they're working. This is part of the volunteer duty in the station itself. Has nothing to do with their daytime job. Therefore, there's no crossover between me being able to, as director, tell them, here's how you need to vote tonight.
I just didn't want that to come up later.
No, the attorney was pretty adamant that needed to be in there and spelled out, so.
Sergio Bonte. Robbie Clanton,
Yes.
Alex Wiseman. Brooks Falconberry. Tim Deaton,
Yes.
CJ Addison,
Yes.
Greg Nicholson,
Yes.
Josh Alford,
Yes.
Adrian Caskey.
Yes.
Jason Laney.
Yes.
Daniel Mahaffey.
Yes.
Now, discussion concerning fire alarms and policy.
Jonah Smith had asked this to be placed on. Is Mike in sight? Okay. I asked Mike Legette, the fire marshal, to be here for this. Greg, you wanna talk
Yeah.
about your concerns, and then I want
Yes,
him to explain how things are working with the code.
Okay. Pretty much, I brought it up way back about the apartments, down in Indian District, where they kept silencing the alarm or resetting the alarm without us being on site. And at one time, the guy was out of town, he was in Spartanburg, and had the girl up front silence it. And now we're having an issue at our hotel on Red Ventures Drive. We've been there 5 times, and all 5 times, or 3 of the 5 times, I'm sorry, was food on the stove burnt we had to do an extensive ventilation, and all 3 of those times, they canceled us. I just have issues with that fire alarm's in there for a reason. And it's not just the people in that room, it's everybody in the hotel. And I know the way the system works is if it doesn't call us, if it sets the one out in the room off, it does not call us, it's a local alarm to the front desk, and they can cancel it. But the 3 times that we got called was they opened the door and it set the one out in the hall. I don't know if there's a law or rule or whatever in South Carolina. I know I'm used to working out of Charlotte, so I mean we can find them big time if they silence an alarm in Charlotte. But I don't know if that's
There's no ordinance in place in South Carolina or Lancaster County that would
Okay.
allow us to fine them for that.
okay,
Like you said, if it's only in the room, it should only be a trouble,
right,
and y'all should never even be called.
correct. And I mean, and I know that's not you. I have issues with that also, just
That's
because if they burnt the kitchen up and we don't ever get caught, if they don't open that door, but that,
Now, if the sprinkler head activates, you
Yes.
get called.
yes.
Or if they open the door and it gets in the
Right.
hallway, you get called.
And I guess my biggest concern is that we've had 3 instances where they burnt the food, not enough to set the sprinklers off, but it was like bad in the room and the hallway. And people was coming out into the hallways and, you know, and I just have issues with that. I don't know if there's something that we can do to keep them from canceling us. I mean, and.
In South Carolina, the legislature adopts the code. And when they adopt the code, they do that through the Building Codes Council. And even though the Building Codes Council may recommend the code be adopted unadulterated, meaning without change, the legislature still goes in and makes certain changes. They make certain deletions. And then they adopt that code by legislative statute. Under home rule, we don't have any authority whatsoever to do anything that infringes on the authority of the state legislature as they adopt that code. So where you've got a statute or an ordinance in the city of Charlotte that says you can fine them, in South Carolina that would be illegal because the legislature is the only body that can direct and operate and tell you how the code is gonna go.
But can the county not have an ordinance that says that the county can't have an ordinance that says they can't
No.
for silence and that they have
Because
to?
it is part of the code, Lancaster County can't do anything to either enhance or lessen what the state legislature has done.
I don't agree with that.
We could make a code we could make an ordinance more restrictive.
Yes, you can restrict it
I'm
more
not
than.
sure you can on the building code and the
We
fire
have
code.
with, the pump sprinklers. It's in our UDO that if you don't have hydrants, you have to.
That's because, that has to
So
do with
you
the
can-
hydrants. That's allowed. We can check, but I don't think we can. We have to get an attorney general's opinion. I don't think we can amend the enforcement.
I thought you could, if you couldn't lessen their ruling, but you could enhance it if wanted to as a county. And, I mean, all we're asking for is for the front desk not to cancel us. I mean, let us roll in and see what we got.
And I'm not arguing with your point. I
Right.
think it's a valid point.
Are you getting dispatched?
Yeah.
So then, could we
But
not just on our
They're,
local
as
level?
soon as they dispatch us, the front desk is calling dispatch and saying cancel.
Well, could we just not on our
Yeah,
local
when you
level
show
say
up,
we're not?
Oh, we
canceling
go
that?
anyway, and like I said, all three times we went there, you know, then they're like, oh, I didn't realize there was that much smoke.
No,
Well, my problem is that tells me they didn't even go up there to check.
the last time I went, it was never an alarm. It was
Yeah.
only in a trouble, so they never reset anything. You guys never should have even been called, never known about it. to be honest
Right.
with you. It was
But
honestly just smoking.
To his point about the residential sprinklers and the lack of hydrants, that goes with land development. So it crosses over. I think that's why that's allowed. I don't think we can tighten the code. If you did, you have jurisdictions all over South Carolina tightening it, and the legislature does not allow that. But we'll still get an attorney general's opinion if y'all want that.
Well, I mean, would that be affecting the code by telling them they can't reset a fire alarm? That isn't,
They're
Changing
based on what
the
he
code,
said, they're
that's
not
just-
resetting it, are they?
yes.
The time that I've been, they didn't reset it. I don't know if it's gone off in the past and been in the hallways as well.
I think if the fire alarm comes into the panel, they're not supposed to reset it by code.
There's nothing in
There's
there.
nothing in our code that says that.
And it doesn't say that they can or can't.
Okay, that I'm not sure of then. But
I guess we're just asking that, Mike, you, whoever, kind of research and see if there's any way we can go on this.
We can
I mean,
do that.
because it's only gonna get worse as Mike can tell you, all the apartments are the same way, the hotel, and if it's a single family dwelling, fine. If you don't want us there, I don't care. But when you start talking multifamily and, you know, like the building right below our station, there's 54 units in each building. I mean, that's a lot of houses in one
there's a
building.
lot of people affected.
Exactly. And, you know, and I know, I've talked to Mike about it on those apartments, and he's like, well, you know, if it is actual fire, it'll go off again. Well, we're already behind the 8 ball with manpower for them to reset it 3 or 4 times and then figure out, oh, it's burning, that's why it won't reset.
Are the apartments different than the hotel?
Yes, the apartments will only have the sprinklers as activation devices and possibly pull stations,
Yes.
or if they've got elevators, there may be smoke detectors. So there won't be anything inside a unit that's going to set the alarm.
Right.
Other than the sprinkler head, if it's a sprinkler.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
But I would imagine the ones at Red Ventures, since it's an enclosed, it's like a hotel, it doesn't have open stairwells, that it'll have always smoke detectors, I would
It'll
imagine.
have
And that's,
always smoke.
and that's kinda where I'm headed with this, is that's not gonna be the next, that ain't gonna be the last one built, so we're going, huh?
Most of the ones that are going in now have always smoke detectors.
Okay.
So there's none in the units themselves in those apartments?
They're local only smoke alarms inside the units. In
So
apartments.
the only way we'll get dispatched out there is if somebody actually calls 911 if there's a fire inside a unit.
Until the sprinkler.
Until the sprinkler head goes off, right?
So if it hits the smoke head in the hallway, that goes to the panel and that generates an alarm.
Yes.
In the apartments.
In the apartments.
Okay.
But there's only
And
smoke
the
detectors.
Yeah, I realize that too.
Most of the apartments only have the smoke heads at the elevators, not throughout, like a apartment or an enclosed one.
We're just asking that we research, see if there's some way on commercial buildings and, like I said, I could care less on the house, but that sounds bad, but I mean, it's their house, they can do what they want, but when we talk about commercial and multifamilies, if there's some way, put stickers on the panels that says do not, reset until the fire department's on scene. Because, we've been there on multiple fires and they've already reset them and they want us to make sure there's nothing going on. Well, I have no idea. At Kier Industry, I'm not gonna walk in 250,000 square foot buildings if I happen to see something. Cause we have no idea what went off.
Anything else on the, alarms?
This was to begin that discussion and see where we wanted to go with it. Obviously, right now, we're gonna try to do some legal research.
Okay.
And we'll try to get that and have it ready for the next meeting. Part of that may be determined by if the Attorney General.
Yeah,
And it may be that we have to do, instead of the Attorney General, it might be the Building Codes Council that we have to get the answer from. But we'll have to figure that out for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, moving on to a discussion concerning body armors, your draft SOG in your packet. We know we've had discussion in the past, at least I know one meeting for sure, we were discussing body armor, was brought up about wanting to see, Indian land is wanting to purchase some and just have something in place in the county to, go off of, so, Tony, is this gonna be you, discussing what you got there?
Okay, this did go out to the SOG committee, and we got responses back, and everybody agreed to go ahead and send it to the full commission, so everybody could see it, look over it, review it, questions, answers, all that. This is a kind of in depth. I looked at several different, fire departments around that already had something similar to this, and composed one that fits, us. So it's pretty generic, just states basically, what type of calls we would be wearing this on, defines, got a definition section there, and then it goes into the NIJ, which is National Institute of Justice. They do all the classification ratings, so it spells out the different classification ratings there. The only unanswered question that I have, and SOG committee members, please speak up, is on the last page. We beat around with colors.
We got different, some want black, some want tan, like a turnout gear, most turnout gear is.
I think just from what I've been seeing, it's also gonna depend on who you buy from.
Yeah, everybody doesn't offer all colors.
Turnout gear, color, body armor, and then you might be stuck with having to buy.
To me, it's all
I don't know
black.
if you wanna specify that or not necessarily in the SOG.
black is your typical color.
Right.
I mean, black is, everybody's is black. There's only certain companies that sell the turnout gear type, but you're gonna pay 3 times more for that, just for that color. You know, it's preference, but, you know, there's been a lot of discussions. When I was at Lugoff, we talked about colors, and we ended up going with black. And the reason we went with the black is, if you have to be in the shadows, if we happen to be in a school or any other place, you don't want that big bright color. You want to be able to step back into a shadow somewhere and not be seen.
You definitely don't want red.
Yeah, you don't want red. But if you do need a designation of who you are, you know, we had, I don't think everybody got to see those pictures, but I think the SOG committee got to see the pictures of the small fire patch we had on the front and the back at Lugoff. That just designated fire. And that was really just for us, because if you're in an active shooter situation and somebody's actually shooting at anybody, they're shooting at anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter what you got on. It doesn't matter the color. But
Doesn't matter to me, I just thought that was important. I just figured countywide, we want kind of be uniform, we're really limited, only 2 colors for turnout gear, so.
And then it comes to cost.
Yes.
You know, if you go with black ones, there's cheap black ones that you can get for $75. There's black ones you can spend $1,200 on. The turnout gear type, you're gonna spend $700 on a carrier, minus plates, minus everything else that goes with it, for just the color basically. So cost plays into that.
Back to the turnout gear, Janesville has one color, Globe has another, and then we have 1 or 2 departments who are buying black gear in the county. The rest are buying what I call the khaki color, one shade or another.
I would say black, and it don't really matter whether it's dark black or light, you know, when it comes in, because you're gonna have fire and rescue on it, so it's gonna make you stand out. Plus black, like Chris was saying, you gotta be in the shadows, it ain't gonna stand out like that bright red, or if you got a bright red on, you might as well have a neon vest on, you know?
And I agree too, like you said, you want a little bit of uniform because you don't want any and everything showing up. I mean, they offer
The
red.
same thing here is, will the county be providing body armor, first out engines?
You will be buying it out of your equipment money, or out of your station funds if you want to. The commission is simply allowing it as policy. So you'd be able to use your equipment money to buy that. If you didn't need to turn out gear that year, you could do that. But there were several departments that wanted to move, so we needed to get a policy in place to allow them to, if you didn't want it, we needed to know that as a commission, because you set the policy. And if you're willing to allow it, then if they can buy it, they'll go ahead and do it right now. Those other departments may find a way, but there's not a special pot of money for turn up for body armor right now. That's not to say that might not be something in the future. But right now, no.
Might be able to find a grant or two somewhere in the future.
I mean,
like that.
I don't think our fire resistance grants do it yet, but that might be.
Just the color, we need that.
Yeah, that's the only thing hanging.
That's what they're waiting on.
I make a motion to set this one here and put the color as black.
We got a motion second, now we open up for more discussion.
Yeah, I don't have an issue, I just like on, number 4, where it says body armor is required, element of PPE for all levels of duty assignments. So, if we're going to do that, are we talking, if they don't have body armor, they can't be on the scene, or?
That's exactly where I was fixing to go.
Well, if there's an active shooter going on, we generally hold back till scenes secure.
Do what?
Which one were you looking at?
Body armor.
Number 4, use.
Number 4,
It also says the officer there, so, I mean.
Fire, stash, gunshots,
Yeah.
similar rest. That's still a fight scene. After they quit fighting, that's still a gunshot scene. After they done shot.
I think that covers it down at the bottom, because it says it's the officer in charge have determined, so if you know it's a threat, you're not gonna bring your people in anyway.
They're saying any response to incident of all nature, that
when the scene has not yet been declared secure, or first responder showing up, is that's not saying he's required to wear that, that's the, I'm a little confused about whether they, if you go into a stabbing, well, we're right now supposed to hold back until the scene is deemed secure, but is it after the scene?
No, we're not changing that,
Okay.
right, I mean, that's got its own SOG for your response types and stuff. I reckon, we can figure out this wording to make it more correct, to me.
When you start requiring it, and I know we're supposed to hold back, but a active shooter in elementary school,
It's different.
it's gonna be different. I can tell you, we're going in to start treating patients and pulling them out as the police go, clears the hallways, we should be going in behind them, clearing them.
And
Now, would you wanna vest on? Yes, but if I don't have one, I'm still going in.
I think it's the way that first sentence is worded.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we meant to say it's required.
Yeah.
I think it's saying if required.
Yeah,
instead of
I can
is.
see that if it's required, or,
Body armor if required, if a required element.
yeah.
To me, it should be left up to
The
officer on that truck.
Exactly. Yeah.
To me, if I tell them to put it on, they're gonna put it on.
Exactly.
If we got the ones that's happening,
And the other part of that is we never want our SOGs to take away the officer in charge's ability to keep his people safe or her people safe in any situation. You can't anticipate them all. We'd have to have something as thick as this room, and then it probably would have every instance. So what we're trying to do is do generalities to give people the tool that if they want to use it, they've got it.
Yes, and I have absolutely no issues with that. I just, if we start putting required in there, and you get a good lawyer, they're gonna light you up.
Or you could just say body armor is an element of PPE.
Yes.
Just get rid of that word required.
And left up to the officer in charge or command or whatever, on a situation.
Well, that's number 3, when directed by an officer.
Yeah.
Under number 4, again, go down to B, and that kinda goes over that a little bit too. It says, if it is required.
Yeah.
And then,
Again, that would be by that officer directed.
until the incident commander or officer in charge has determined the threat has been cleared. So,
can you amend this?
So we just need to add an if here at the A in front of the.
Well, actually, I think you might want to say body armor is an element of PPE, get rid of the word A required.
When y'all looked at this, did y'all review NFPA 3000 and make determinations on this? That's for the fire service, active shooter events and all that, which goes into great detail on this. And also just throw out the point in what I've been looking for stuff we're buying in the city. It's a lot of the places are recommending you buy turnout gear because it shows more of a friendly, I'm not law enforcement, I'm not armed environment. Now, active shooter, obviously, more than likely those people just shooting, they don't care or whatever. But so a lot of the research is out there on the fire side, not looking at law enforcement side, but by fire people are recommending that. So, I say we don't handcuff ourselves by saying you gotta buy black or whatever, because if Pleasant Valley wants to buy turnout gear colored body armor, which will come in black just with striping like our turnout gear or tan or whatever color, we don't say, no, you gotta buy black. We don't tell you gotta buy tan turnout gear now. We don't tell you buy, what your department wants. I say you don't handcuff people to, a certain color. Just think about that, when you're going through it, because there is turnout gear colored body armor that you can buy that already comes with the level of protection that we would need, the same way that law enforcement's wearing now in a normal day-to-day environment that is not outrageously expensive. And it already comes with your protection involved in it. You don't have to buy extra plates for it or whatever. You buy plates if you want the rifle protection, but it already comes with it. So I just caution us to be careful not to handcuff ourselves by saying you've got to buy black. I think that needs to be left up to the individual station.
And that goes back to just leaving the color out, like we had discussed before.
I can remove the whole last paragraph, that is not a problem.
I would leave the color out because of that.
So just delete B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Previously,
We're gonna have to, 40.
Right. Body armor is not intended to be, used in structural firefighting gear. They're not gonna be just like the pants and the body armor.
Talking about C in number 4?
Yeah.
They would just
Number
be,
4 and C.
yeah,
Well, you're not gonna go into a house fire with a vest on underneath. Chances are you're not being shot at in a house fire situation. I think this is really more for an active shooter type situation, or if we're going into maybe a domestic or something of that nature where we're really not sure what exactly is going on, is more or less what this is for.
Yeah, because the police, sheriff, whatever, if they have their uniform, right? And the firefighters are gonna be just used to the regular dressing and,
a vest and helmet and/or helmet, depending on what the local
Yeah,
department
Then what the call
purchased
is.
and all.
Is that gonna allow, if you got your pants and boots, you got with the armor on? Or not the coat, correct? Was that?
I would
not.
It would not
Personally,
have
No,
to
no,
go.
no turnout gear.
You're dealing with so much weight.
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
And in an active shooter situation, you don't wanna be bogged down by extra weight with those turnout pants on. If you're in a school shooting situation, you're having to evacuate patients. I mean, you
go
run.
in there like
It's-
a medical car. I mean, we're handling medical at that point. So you're in your,
And I think it's primarily
Class C.
medical calls we're thinking about, on
Yeah.
the medical side.
really,
what I meant, you need to have some identification, you know. like,
Right, that's what we're trying to iron out with the actual vest itself. That is your identification.
The vest will come, you get
Well-
Velcro name straps that come across the
we're
chest
gonna,
and they say fire rescue, EMS, law enforcement, police, whatever.
We're gonna specify that, we're taking out the last paragraph, we're gonna, shouldn't all of them say fire rescue, since every station in the county is fire rescue? It shouldn't, you wanna,
But again, that's up to your local, because again, if you've got money and you want to, you can customize it and have your patch on it. And say, so it might have Elgin's, and might say, have Elgin's patch and then Elgin on it. You might say Elgin Fire Rescue or Elgin Fire Department.
I said if it had an optional name on the thing.
Yeah, because it's all up to, like everything else, if you got more money, you wanna spend it to customize it. But I mean, I don't know that it'd be up to the body if you wanna say you gotta have a name patch that says something specific.
We did actually formally change the name to Lancaster County Fire Rescue. Now, some of the departments have changed their names too, not all have done that. But Fire Rescue represents the fact that you represent the county when you're out there, I think.
That's kind of where I was getting at, is, just, somebody showed up with Elgin or,
I think you should have a minimum of fire and rescue on it, per department, if they wanna add their patch or name, they can do that themselves.
that's how we had it.
We
set up.
put, we
So
can leave
is that
that
Last sentence.
last sentence, have, fire armor should have fire rescue or department patch.
just to identify, that, just so we see somebody coming up, cause anybody on the street can still buy body armor,
Yes.
just, at least have something designated, and they can have anything put on they want, but for the most part, you try to, the uniform is who we are.
You all have access to the county patch, and most stations have their own patch that you can have put on there.
The term fire rescue would include, if it was on there somewhere, would include everybody. If they can add their station patch to it.
Yeah, well, I think that's what they're saying, if I understand correct. Fire rescue needs to be on there. Then if you wanna do more, the name of the department or the name of the person whose gear it's assigned to, that determines how far you wanna go as a department. It's no different than when you put your name in on the back of your coats. You all customize that to a degree as to how that's done on your particular turnout gear for your particular station.
Hey, Dan,
Yes.
as far as what we were going as training and stuff, with it being the rescue task force, are we still doing something with that, or do you still want fire rescue? I mean, because originally it was gonna be
be in an active shooter environment only. If we're wearing this at a domestic event or a stabbing or, Engine 50 in Orange County just got shot at multiple times by a lady doing a welfare check in a home. So, you know, we're not in a rescue task force mode if we're just at a stabbing or a domestic.
Okay. Okay, I understand. And I agree.
Is there any other?
So we have decided to strike B with the exception of that last sentence, is that right?
Any other changes?
Do you want me to strike the last section B, or do you want to leave that last sentence in
I
there?
think we need to leave that last sentence.
Where B will only be panels on body armor should have fire rescue on the front and rear top panel, and optional name on lower rear panel.
You might wanna add station
That's what I'm
identification.
saying, we can do that too.
Can they, does it matter, do we wanna restrict them from not putting something additional on the front if they wanna put it on there? I don't know what kind of rooms on this they want.
I don't think there's that, that's what I was fixing to say. I don't-
You can velcro what
You can, there's a lot of space.
I don't wanna restrict what they can put on there, as long as it's got fire rescue on there, I'm okay with it.
That's what people are gonna see. You don't necessarily wanna be a walking billboard, but.
Yes.
Whatever they wanna add.
That's why I like You've seen that.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Could we make it where you could put fire or fire rescue?
Yes.
If you just want fire on there, you don't want fire rescue?
So we'll change this to fire or fire rescue.
Yeah, you got that done.
Fire or fire rescue, so we're striking all of B except that last identification.
I got one more question about I know there's the type 2A type, are we gonna go for a specific across the board this type or just?
Yeah, I think we
This
discussed
3A.
that. That 3A is the threat level, and that actually goes back to NFPA too. What it calls out for a minimum, that's what you want. Now, there's a difference between
So you
hard
said
armor and soft, but
the 3A be the minimum and you can get more if you want it or?
there's a 3A plus, but, you know, that's,
If they wanna buy it, they can.
But I mean, 3A is
yeah,
At least.
the least you won't have.
And 3A covers basically pistol rounds, 9mm and 357, I think is what it says. Excuse me, 357, 44 mag. Just level 3 steps, actually steps up and covers rifle rounds, and that's covered by armored plates.
Right.
And we check around your,
You guys talking about putting it in city fire?
Yes.
Okay.
most police officers on the street wear the 3A. They don't have plates, it's just a vest.
yeah, well,
Kevlar and all that stuff.
and that's gonna be up
Typically,
to,
you're not coming up with somebody with a rifle
But in a SWAT situation,
and change it.
active shooter, they'll have different.
if I'm gonna go through the process of wearing body armor, I'm wearing plates. Because the level 3A, when you start talking about soft body armor, or if you start talking about ceramics, or they got the new polymers, which is a lightweight, it's not really steel, it's pressed plastic and glass basically, they're very light. But when they do take a round, if you watch all the videos and look at, yeah, you get the mushroom effect in the back, so it'll penetrate you that deep, maybe about that big, with all of that energy of that entire round into that point. So now you have massive blunt force trauma within inside your body. To be quite honest, if somebody shoots me with a 223, I'd rather have that round pass through me than they get hit with soft body armor and have that blunt force trauma and a lot of damage inside. There's a lot of research on it. I've done a lot of watching and research and doctors and trauma. Do your own research on it if you like, but there's a lot of information out there. Me personally, I like plates, but just calling that minimum what we call the 3A, you can go soft, you can go plates, it's up to you for your station at that point. But
Cost
Y'all wear something in
effectiveness.
Charlotte, don't you?
Sir?
Y'all got something wearing in Charlotte? What are y'all wearing?
Salt.
Salt.
Well, our pack teams, which is the police assist teams, they have full plates. They just, ours, I think ours will take code will be.
I think the sheriff's office has plates in some of theirs.
Yeah, I think it's, they don't.
Pellet gun, plate ball.
I think the sheriff's office has plates in some of theirs now. I'm not sure if the city does.
They're usually soft, and they need to go to a
Slip.
And the reason is they're in it all day long.
They are in it all
And
day.
it's,
And it doesn't give if
they're
you got
heavy.
plates in.
but I've worn it for 12 hours on a shift before. We've gone out and we ran 5Ks with plates on.
The longevity of it though, the plates
You're
on
gonna wear-
average, yeah.
Yeah, your plates are going to hold out.
17 to 20 years, where you get the soft ones, it's 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, so now you got a lot more cost of replacements. There's a lot of things, that's why I say, if you want more information on it, you need to do some research on it yourself as to hard, soft, good, bad, cost. There's a lot of different variables in there, but,
That's something too, I mean.
well, that's why it calls out just the minimum. It's gonna be up to the station, whoever's paying for it, what they want and what their budget allows.
To keep it updated also is gonna be on them, so.
I say just do what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Last sentence in and let's,
Yep, that's why we
and
wrote the way
at
we
least the type of it.
Alright, so what we've discussed, and just to recap, make sure Tony, basically, and everybody's still with me, on 4A, changing it, body armor is and, taking out A required. I don't think there's any other changes on that first page. Second page, I think it was clear, and then we also can see where the fire commission does recommend a minimum 3A, at a minimum, and then the third page of it, basically striking all of B, leaving the sentence in there that it can say fire or fire rescue. We note, if we want to, that departments can purchase any color body armor that they want, but we would like some kind of identification on there, that shows that we're fire rescue, fire department, or somewhere like that. Were there any other changes or anything that anybody saw or heard?
Station patch will be in there also, fire or fire rescue or
Along with.
station patch.
And that's what, being that, what we're discussing in past history, the way we've kind of operated or whatever, we'll get Tony to, as long as we're good with his fire commission, to update this, get it sent back out. We're also gonna go ahead and send it to the chiefs, to let them review it. Chiefs Association, we've canceled our July meeting, due to the increase in numbers, and, so, I'm gonna email it out. We'll get this down and email it out. And so they can go ahead and review it, tell them to get everything back before, so, because we'll meet again as commission in August before the chiefs will meet again. That way we can have our stations, chiefs, input before, hopefully be ready for us to go ahead and vote on in August. But it also gives stations who are ready to go ahead and purchase this opportunity to see where we're at, because that looks like a good sound policy. So everybody in favor of that, not voting on anything tonight, but just taking those as steps.
Is the consensus of the group that the stations are okay to go ahead and purchase?
Y'all hear that? They okay with y'all? Everybody feel comfortable with stations that want to purchase, go ahead and purchase them.
So they'll move forward, because it takes a lot of time to get everything
The reason
going.
I ask that question is, some of this stuff can get more and more hard to get. Not only do we have COVID going on, but there's a lot of other things that are causing this type of thing to get hard to find. I'd hate for a station to not be able to get it when they've got the ability right now to go and order it, because it takes us another month to meet.
Right now, they got a 7 to 12 week lead time on getting armor in, so.
Better move forward.
Everybody's good, move forward. Thank you, Tom. Number 6, discussion concerning fire commission budget and equipment bid.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I've got the, new budget. You have sheets, these sheets right here, that show you what was, finally approved. It basically is the same budget that you had this year. Career budget is the same thing as well. The only place we got an increase was on the maintenance budget in the 144. I'm sorry, in the 141 budget, which is where all the apparatus maintenance is. Added about $35,000 more there, and that's about how much we've overdrawn this year already. I think, I won't really know until we get the final county. If Kimberly calls me, I'm in trouble. If she doesn't, then we'll probably be okay. But you can see what's approved as far as the 144 and the 141 budgets. If there's any questions on that, I'll try to answer them, but that is the budget that council adopted. And the bid, we're doing it a little different this year. Everything's online. Procurement has allowed us now to be able to actually email it to vendors as opposed to having to mail it to them. So we're not printing all those catalogs and sending it to them. This is what they get. I asked Billy tonight, he's back now, but I asked him tonight to make sure that if anybody had requested anything be added to this, that it was in here as far as an item that'll get bid on. And he said that it had been. So, to the best of our knowledge, there was nothing out there that anybody wanted to have in the bid that's not in here. And even if we come up with something later, we can always ask for prices and get a bid based on how much those items cost. But this is just the major bid that we do. Now, the bid opening date is going to be the 28th of July. Because this is an Excel document and they'll be bidding on it, Billy thinks he can integrate it and we'll be able to do that bid open in a couple hours as opposed to it taking all day like it has in the past.
What was that date?
July the 28th. And that would give us the opportunity to get everything together, bring it back to you all for your August meeting for you to accept the bids. And then at that point, we'll give out the catalogs and everybody ready to start on it. Any questions about that? If anybody wants to see the list, I've got it here tonight. We can let you look at it. But we didn't print a whole bunch of these lists out. It's got the legal documents and everything. It's the whole package as the way it would be going to the vendor. And that's already been sent out.
Are there any questions about these two items, the bid and the budget? Damage assessment training?
All right, guys, we do this every year in July. Just the new commissioner coming on as well as getting ready for the upcoming storms. So for the fall weather. So everybody's got this in their engines, rescue, wherever you put it on. It's stationed. But open it up, and first I'm just gonna go over the contents of it. Has anybody ever here ever used these before on thing? So y'all understand? Okay, thank you. All right, so you understand what's going on. Pencils, GPS for getting coordinates. Batteries, of course, the batteries are for the camera, right? For that. The forms, I'll get to it in a little bit. Taping off how big the house is. So if you don't want to do that, what I do is I just go on my phone and look at the county GIS, and it's got everything on there instead of walking along. So that's just a little quick hint by me. The camera, when you go to take pictures, guys, please take pictures. First, I like to start out at the road, take pictures of the mailbox, and then work my way in from there. So that way I know the GPS, and then I can coordinate it with my paperwork. So start at the road, then work my way to the house, and try to get all A, B, C, D corners. Especially do a zoom back for the tree on the house, how ripped it is, whatever have you, right? So the quick guide just gives you a quick lesson on just basically how the 4 levels of damage are there, right? So of course affected, a couple of shingles off of the house, maybe 1 or 2 siding off the house, nothing too big, right? More onto affected roof, shingles, anything like that, right? Minor, of course, you're gonna have some part of the roof hanging off of it, section of the roof are missing, but it is repairable. Still habitable, but it is repairable as well. Utilities broken, slight movement of the piers, foundation. Then you get into the major, a lot of the roof torn off. wall to floor, damage, roof damage, shift on the, piers and the foundation, and then major is pretty much, completely destroyed, alright, so once you get those, figured out, then you go to the forms. The forms, basically two forms we're gonna fill out. One, is pretty much at the end, and this tells, the apartment date and, how many homes, businesses, mobile homes, alright? The EMD likes to differentiate between mobile homes and homes, right? So, and then go into businesses. The back is where you put the road address and all that, so that way you can correlate it, with your pictures. And then, lastly, of course, is the, another form which you figure out, and this is where you write down whether it's affected, minor, or major damage, or destroyed. Right? So you circle it, GPS built, modular, whatever have you. Is it insured? This is a big thing as well. EMD asks if it is insured. So that way we can give all this information to Stuart. He compiles it into spreadsheets, and then he gives it to EMD. Right? So the last time we used these was straight line winds we had a couple months ago in the East Springs, south end of Rich Hill, Kershaw, and Flat Creek area. So we just laid down trees in one way. We filled out all these forms and sent it in, right? Seneca did the same thing. I know y'all heard about the tornadoes in Seneca. So similar effect just to this right here. So that way they can make their disasters and try to get money for us to hopefully get some assistance. So anybody got any questions? Make sure when you fill these out, when you go, just please make sure you're looking, be aware of utilities, down power lines, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's pretty common sense, right? But, anybody got any questions? The guys, they will not, check these just because it's the same thing over and over. What they'll do is they'll look at this and see, this has been opened, so that way they'll know the tag is gone, and then they can repair any forms, batteries, whatever have you need.
Brett, is that something we need to, care about to the station, or the training officer will go over there to the station?
We do this at the Training Officers Association as well, but that your training officer should be giving this to your members. So I do it at the Training Officer Association every January. That's what I do. But every July we do it in here. So that's half the year. So.
Thank you, sir. Discussion concerning approval of fire department agency grants.
Remember, we did apply for the SAFER grant. We've not heard anything for that. That was to ask for the 6 people that the pitch study talked about that at the last fire commission meeting. Just keep that in mind. We've not heard anything about it. So.
Committee reports, SOG.
There is another thing in your packet here about your rapid entry system. I can't remember off the top of my head what we need to take a vote on.
It is. This one I need to get you to vote on tonight, and the reason being is we are in the process of changing out the Knox boxes in all the engines. The system we were using, the Central Lock system, Tony's got one of the new ones there in his hand. The Central Lock system has been discontinued by Knox. We had bought every single one of them that we could get our hands on. It actually was being phased out 5 years ago. We tried to extend it, and we did this much longer, but we've got them dropping like flies, so we had no choice but to go ahead and try to replace it. I talked to Mr. Willis, and he allowed us to do that as an end-of-year purchase to go ahead and get enough of them to replace all those in the county. So Billy and Chico and the rest of them are in the process of getting those changed out. So this SOG is how the new system works. There's not a lot of latitude here. It either we adopt how it works or we don't, but it works how it works. This one has a lot more security to it. Because we're live streaming, I'm not going to go into the weaknesses of the old one, because we do still have some of them out there. But needless to say, this one is easier for 911 to use. to give us what we need. There's an individual PIN number that'll go out for the particular box that you've asked to be opened. That PIN number is only good for a certain period of time, and it's never good again, and it won't open another box in the county. So if somebody hears it on the radio and tries to usurp it into another box, it won't work. And after a very short period of time, Billy, how long is the period of time? 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it's no longer good, so you have to do it again. They don't have to send out tones over the air anymore. It is just that PIN code that they'll give you, and that PIN code's only good on the individual box that the officer or firefighter should be sitting on at the time they do it. There wasn't any other changes that we made here, was it? Or was it?
Yeah, just basically all the operations of the new box versus the old. This opens up where we do not have to be on Ops 2 anymore, because these are not controlled by our radio. The PIN numbers are programmed into the box. I guess each box has a certain special set. How many does it store, Billy?
It's not really programmed in the box, the algorithm that the box uses. And there's 5 different factors in the algorithm that comes up with the PIN code to allow it to open up. Date, time, the serial number for the box. I forgot another one. It's like 5 different factors that factor in. That's why it's only good for 30 minutes. And in that box, they're not technically programmed in the box, because that's originally what they set off to do, was PIN numbers programmed in the box, and it was easier for somebody to come up there and figure out that number. They said it was 1 in 100 million that you would ever come up with this 9-digit number on your own now. So it's been tested. We tried different numbers on the first box we brought up. We tried once she gave us a number, and once I got a number off the computer, tried to enter it in all 4 boxes, it wouldn't open up, but the one I entered it in. The only suggestion we got is, if you can, unless somebody can remember 9 digits right quick, write them down and then enter them. Because we had some guys trying to enter as she talks, and she pauses. It's just like a pager. If you pause too long between your digits, it's going to scrap it and you got to start over again. So my suggestion is write them down, enter them like you would a phone number, and then hit the enter key, which is an arrow key.
Because of the 30-minute limitation, you don't have to worry about losing that piece of paper. It won't ever matter again.
And the only other change was we added that the IC or driver, if they were not an officer, because our policy listed officers 1 through 9, staff members and career firefighters could release the box. So we did add in that the IC and the apparatus driver would have the authority to release a box key.
That pretty well, whoever's driving that truck can get that key out and use it. As long as they're following this rest of this policy, they're good.
Other than that, that's the only change. We didn't touch anything else with the other rapid entry systems we have, quick answer and all that, that stays the same.
So you say you need a motion to approve it?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion concerning this policy?
So is, when we order these, if we want extra ones, we can order them?
They've already been ordered,
If there's one out there, we replace it, right, Billy?
and the extra ones have been ordered.
I think we got you covered, is what we're saying.
Yes, the ones we had discussed have already been ordered.
Okay.
Yes.
If there was a box out there in the truck, we'd replace it.
I mean, like, we've been wanting one for the tanker, so we can get one for the tanker.
Yes, it's been ordered.
Okay.
I knew he had some extras in there, I didn't know where he had them.
Yes, the two pumper tankers are covered.
Okay.
And that's what we're waiting on, guys. The boxes are here. We had to send one back because they sent it wrong for, they sent one extra county one and one less city one. But the city's waiting on one key, right? And we're waiting on 2 keys within 2 trucks.
I got confirmation that my keys are ordered, are in process.
Okay.
But we don't keep those keys on hand. We order them and they're locked in. That's the way we keep security.
Okay. The nice thing, I can talk about this right quick if you don't mind. These boxes, they have magnets on the side. some people have a tendency to not know where to put their FDC key. You can put your FDC key on, it fits right on the side, upside down, and you know where it's at all the time. That's what that slot's made for. So.
Any other questions, discussion?
Sergio Monte,
Yeah.
Robbie Clayton,
Yes.
Alex Wiseman,
Yes.
Brooks Falconberry,
Yes.
Tim Beaton,
Yes.
CJ Addison,
Yeah.
Greg Nicholson,
Yes.
Josh Alford,
Yes.
Adrian Caskey,
Yes.
Jason Lane,
Yes.
Daniel Mahaffey.
Yes.
All right, strategic planning, anything? Apparatus and equipment, budget, perk. We'll be going through and, placing people on the new standing committees. If there's a committee that you would like to serve on, you'll, let me know in person, or let Darren know, he can let me know, and we'll get them ready for the next meeting. To have that out. I think Robbie's got a chicken in there with you. So, just let me know on that. Any, commissioner's comments? Hearing none, you have a motion? Second. He was waiting.
That's why he wanted to make sure we heard him in the beginning.
Alright, we're clear.
Yeah.